Okay. Show me.
Hi there guys, welcome back to the Dutch SC channel. Thank you very much for tuning in for my third video about this rare radio, the TBS Mambo radio. And if you follow my channel, you know that mine has a broken switch over here. It came like this, so TBS has sent me a replacement switch, which I'm gonna at least try to install in this video. So this video might be as educational, as informative to you as it will be to me. I haven't opened up the radio yet. I have seen a couple of videos about the inners of this radio. I know that this isn't the easiest of jobs, but we'll see. The switch is broken already, so I can't break it more, I guess. And yeah, I'll try to show you how I go about and replace this switch. So the first thing we want to do is open up this radio. The 4 screws to open up the radio are at the back, but we want to do some prep work at the front first. We need to take off these 2 thumb screws, which are on pretty tight, but they aren't secured by grub nuts. So maybe you can use a flat screwdriver to pry them off a little bit. Again, especially the first time, they might be on a little bit tight. Especially, I should add, when you have a camera in the way. There's one. I must say, in most radios these would be held down, held in place by grub screws, but not on this radio. Hartstikke, they are gone. The next thing we want to do is take off the collars that keep these switches in place. And there are probably tools for this, but I'm gonna use a flat screwdriver to push them along, if you will. And yeah, my hands will probably be in the way. But just take your time. And yeah, again, I found that a flat screwdriver works pretty okay. Even though there are probably tools for this, especially to tighten them back on. Now let's try and get a look in the inners of this radio, and it will be handy or good for your gimbals to protect them a little bit. So I'm gonna put these gimbal hoods on, and there is the back of our radio. Now obviously I need to take out my module, and take out the batteries. With that out of the way, we need to remove 4 screws, which are located in here. They are 3mm hexes. So let's take those out, and they'll be in pretty tightly, I have found. But no biggie. And once you've got that done, you should be able to pry the radio open. And there are no cables running through to the back of the radio. As you can tell, I can simply lift off the entire back of our radio. Alright, here we have a look at the main PCB, the logic board of our radio. And interesting side note, we now have access to the SD card as well. The physical SD card is over here on the side of the PCB. So if you ever want to replace that, that's how. Having a closer look at our vending switch over here, it is soldered directly to the PCB, to the logic board. As you can tell, all switches are directly soldered onto the PCB, and always check if you are actually looking at the right switch, but yeah, this is the switch I need to replace. So basically what you need to do, I could first remove the PCB from the housing. We will have to do that, otherwise you can't get the switch out. But now that it's held in place, still I want to remove as much of the solder I see here as I can. That's my strategy, and I'm no expert at this at all. But again, that's my strategy, and here is what I'll try to do. Here is what we call a soldering practice board. It is supplied by Mambo or Diatone, and I've already tried this. This is not something I regularly do, but I've tried to, well, I have laid down some beads. That's no problem if you can solder. And I've tried to remove some of the solder of these two beads. Oh, actually only took me a few seconds. It worked pretty well. And if you often do this, you might be using wick. Wick? What is wick? Basically it is copper cloth. Copper? Probably copper. And I don't have wick. What I used is simple copper cable. And this is speaker cable, in case you're wondering. But it's the core of a copper cable. I've removed the shielding, right? Now what you actually do is put this copper onto the solder you want to remove, then heat it up with your soldering iron. And if you understand soldering, you know that the solder compound, the tin, will get sucked into something that's warm or warmer than the surface it's already on. So again, if you heat up that copper, the solder will be sucked into the copper, removing it from the surface you don't want it on. You want to remove it from. So again, that's my strategy, and I've already made a couple of pieces of wick here. I don't want to be without wick halfway through the job. So yeah, that's that's the first thing I'll try to do. Remove as much solder from that switch as I can. Alrighty guys, I have switched, as you can tell, to an overhead camera. Hopefully you'll be able to see what I'm doing. And I'll also try to tell you. So this copper wire, this wick, it's not actual wick, but I'm calling it wick, copper wire, is going to be warm. So I'm going to hold on to it with a clamp thing. Right, so let's see how that works. If it works. I've got my soldering iron set to 390 degrees Celsius, and let's see if we can get that solder in the wire. Maybe I want to heat it up a little first. Ah yeah, that will work wonders. I can already see that a lot of the solder has moved away, so that's nice. And yeah, this would probably be easier with actual wick, stuff that's made for it, but this seems to work pretty well. So I will probably not want to make the PCB too warm. So maybe it's wise to, well, let things cool off a little once in a while, and then go and work on one of the other switch legs. But pretty okay. The only thing that's troubling or a nuisance is that the radio isn't grounded stably. I'm moving the radio around with my soldering iron, which is annoying. But other than that, it is also a little more messy than I had expected. But it definitely works. I can see that the solder is being transferred from the PCB to my wire, which is exactly what you want. Okay, so yeah, I'm gonna do this off screen for the rest, and once I have most of the solder soaked into my wires, I'll get back to you. Alright, I have most of that done. I must say it wasn't as easy as I had hoped, but at this point I want to take the PCB out of the case and then press the legs out of the PCB with a soldering iron. And for that we need to take out a couple of screws, and the PCB has prints on it next to screws, all around the screws rather. Some say front, which are the ones that we need to take out, and others say gimbal. And yeah, those screws will hold on to the gimbals or secure the gimbals to the PCB. So again, what we need to take out are the screws that are surrounded with front prints. So let's go ahead and do that. Alright, and ironically the thing that holds on to the front the most are the switches. Yeah, so you have to persuade the switches out of the front of the case a little bit. And one thing that will snag up things is the speaker wire, which is in here, over here. I can't show you, well maybe I can show you. When I lift up the PCB, here you see the speaker wire. I have already taken it out, but that was attached to the PCB over here. And we can now rotate the PCB around. Over here you see the ribbon cable for the screen, and this is for, I'm not sure, button? The buttons probably, the buttons PCB. Okay, so I can probably leave those in place. I'd really like to keep those in place. I hate ribbon cables. No, I'm gonna take those out. Yeah, at least this connector. Oh, is that the connector for the battery? No, that must be for the screen. Okay, I'm gonna take out the ribbon cable off screen. Alright, I was unable to get that ribbon cable off. So we'll have to make do like this. I've put a piece of cork underneath the switches. So yeah, the PCB will be raised up out of the case, and then I'm gonna simply press these three legs of the broken switch out of the PCB. And I'm gonna try to do that on camera, but yeah, the camera is 200% in the way of things, so we'll see how long it takes before I get very annoyed by this process. Okay. cheeky day, wouldn't you know it, I have removed this switch. And I can't show you because it's probably warm, but yeah, hopefully you'll be able to see that my switch is now gone. There is still a little bit of solder in the holes of the switch, but yeah, I'm simply gonna wick that out of the way, if you will. So I'm gonna put some of that wire in place and get all that solder out of the way. Now, solder suckers, yeah, would have been handy probably, but I don't have that, so I'm simply gonna have to use wick. Okay, so again, I'll do that off camera because the camera is very much in the way of things, but I'm glad to at least have the switch out. Alright, I cheated a little bit. Getting the solder out, getting all the solder out of the holes was, well, not easy. In fact, I pushed the new switch into place through a little bit of the leftovers of the solder, and while keeping things warm, of course. And okay, so these switches are all at a slight angle, an upwards angle. And I knew that because I, well, obviously had seen how the old switch was seated, so I knew that the bottom leg needed to protrude less than the top one. And looks like I guessed that pretty well. The switch is in. In fact, the PCB is in the case again. So I can go ahead and replace all the screws. And then I'll give the solder pads on this new switch a last tap. The PCB doesn't look stressed at all. So again, it does look as if it's in place as it should be. But again, I will give that a final tap, all the legs, so that it's properly seated. Okay, so again, I now have all screws in, all 8 screws that hold the PCB into the case, and that PCB still doesn't look stressed at all where the switch is soldered in. But again, I'll give it a bit of solder tin as well. Fresh solder tin, because why not? And that should be it. Would be nice because I'm quite fond of the radio already. There. There was a little bit of movement in that top leg. Okay, very nice. It should, okay, the solder blobs on the other switches definitely do look bigger. But okay, what amount of stress will there be on these solder points? Not a whole lot. And okay, so I got this radio with the switch already broken, right? And if you also receive your radio with the switch broken, I think that's a first batch thing. So if you order the radio now, you shouldn't have this problem at all. But again, if you receive this radio with any kind of fault, no, if you have a broken switch, I'd say ask for a new PCB, because this switch replacement job, yeah, it's a bit much. Alright, so reversal of the entire story now, of course. We need to reinstall them switch colors. And I'm again gonna use that flat screwdriver. Is that gonna work? It's gonna have to work. Yeah, looks like that will work. So again, if you have this radio and your switch is broken, just tell TBS, well, yeah, I saw that video from Dutch RC. I am not sponsored by TBS at all, by the way. But yeah, just tell them I saw that video and it looked awful, like an awful job replacing that switch. So give me a new radio. and my money back to boot. Yeah. Okay, so that's not gonna happen, of course. Alright, one of the switch covers doesn't want to go on. Okay, and I also had a couple of things that rolled out of the radio. Black plastic collars. Those go around these turn dials things. And I'm not sure what they are for, but that's where they came from. So I'll put them back in place. And press the actual knobs back on as well. I'm suspecting actually that those plastic collars prevent the switch from falling into the radio further. Spacers basically. So I'm gonna put batteries in the radio and we'll see if it actually works. Oh, I am happy. Yeah, I already tried it. Watch the screen over here. Click, clack, haha, we got a working switch, yay. And let's also try or test the boot sequence. Switch down, so it should complain about the switch.
Welcome to Mambo. Throttle warning. Switch warning.
Switch warning? Ah, cheeky day! Phew! Okay, so, and well, the radio itself also still works, which is a nice bonus. So, I'm obviously happy I now have a fully working Mambo radio, right? And this artificial wick method, it worked. It never felt like the ideal way of going about it. And yeah, probably if you use real wick, that this seemed too thick or maybe too long. It took too long to warm up. Other than that, yeah, I did get the job done. So yeah, I'm not complaining. I used what I had, right? And yeah, okay, so broken switch. There you go. And also, I recently replaced a switch on my jumper radio. That wasn't easy either. Basically, I had to take the entire radio apart. But at least it used cables. And I know jumper radios in the past with their ribbon cables were a mess as well. Maybe that's why TBS used this method, soldering the switches onto the PCB. This didn't seem ideal either, having the switches directly soldered onto the main PCB. Some kind of connector would have at least made this easier. I can also imagine that assembly in the factory would be easier that way. But who am I, right? Okay, so tell me in the comment section below, was this useful, was this informative? Hopefully it was a little bit of both. For now, I want to thank you for watching. Catch you on the next video. Bye bye.